Welcome back to the channel. It's Sunday Fun Day. As you can see, the beach bug has made its way back from West Coast. It's been on a 5,000 mile round trip. If you hadn't seen that video, go check it out. But today we're going to paint this UDR body. I've cut a few masks. Really don't have a direction. The original request was some Nardo gray, so I may do a couple of shades of gray, some blues. Not sure yet. If you hadn't seen our first paint video, it's the making of the Hoonah Dart. Check that one out. I did paint the 18th scale modified the other day. Didn't take a video of it, but it was a pretty simple and yet difficult because it's so small. So stay tuned and we'll get the masking and then we'll spray some paint. All right, we're in a roughed in stage. Looks like a bunch of just scribbles. It'll start to make sense. We're going to fine line a lot of this to get the basic outline of the design. I do all my sketching with a China pen. It's like a wax pen or grease pencil. You can just wipe it off as you go, as you make design changes. Like I said 47 times in my last video, I like to wing it and just kind of go with the flow, however the body seems to, whatever seems to work for the body, or I guess whatever mood I'm in. This mess on the hood will make sense when it's all said and done. Kind of an inside joke. This is for a friend. He's going through some health issues, and not to make light of heart problems, but he's a good sport, and this is going to be hilarious. All right, we got one side fine lined out. This will definitely test your patience and persistence, as we went from the rough sketch to fine lined out. Now the next step we're going to do, we're going to cover all this with a transparent masking tape, semi-transparent. This is FBS, good stuff. It's transparent enough that you can still see the lines through your tape. And if you see my light board here, this is just a little cheap little light board I got off of Amazon, runs off of USB. It helps with those older folks that can't see no more. Once you get it laid out, you lay your tape in there, set it on the light board, and it shows your lines really good. Tips for fine lining. I like the FBS fine line. They're different colors or different consistencies. The blue is kind of the middle of the road, and it can be temperature sensitive. If you got, they got a red, it's really soft. If it's cold where you're taping. The red's a little thinner, a little easier to work with. The orange is a little stiffer. The blue, like I say, is probably right in the middle of the road. They have a green also. I believe it's one step between the orange and the blue. Don't quote me on that. But I find the blue works best for pretty much all around. The 3M blue works good also. All fine lines have their perks or problems. You know, sometimes they try to peel on the edges if you got them. You don't want to stretch them. Make sure you lay them down kind of naturally where they want to lay. Pulling lines, that's just practice. There's no real, I can't just tell you what to do or show you what to do. I'll get one end stuck. I'll guide the other end with my pull off more than I need. I'll stick one end and I'll just guide it with my thumb and my finger, like basically like if you're painting a pinstripe with a brush. Takes a few times to get it to flow. Straight lines are definitely easier to do. Trying to get a consistent curve over a length of a body, especially with a lot of feature lines like this one's the bump side Ford. It's got a lot of features, and then trying to get a consistent curve or an arch over all these featured lines, and then the flares on the back and the flares in the front. That'll test your patience for sure. The checkerboards, I just kind of free-handed it. That is the same FBS brown tape. I just laid it on there, did a quick sketch with a Sharpie, and just cut them out. They don't have to be, when you do them flowing like that, you really don't have to be consistent or have the exact same size squares. It looks better if it gives it the flow, or that makes it feel like it's moving. So on to the next side, and then we'll finally get some paint on this thing. All right, here's one tip with the fine line. To get your points, we got this masked up with the masking. To get these points, they kind of naturally occur. Anywhere that your fine line crosses over itself, it's going to create that intersection point right there. And all you got to do is just follow the top tape, cut that end off, and then go straight across, and you got your point. It's about as close as you can get to making a perfect point without cutting something on vinyl. And it's all done by hand. Pretty simple procedure. Pull the bottom one off. Yeah, if I can get my knife in that one. Bam. There's your point. You crossed over. Didn't take hardly any effort whatsoever, just to let the tape do the work. We'll continue on with this. Like I said, this fine line will definitely test your patience. It's good to have extra material because you're going to waste a lot, especially when you're just learning how to do it. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I still go through a lot of material. And if you're doing this or attempting to start painting bodies for a living or side money or whatever, don't cut yourself short, because I've done it for years. You can flip burgers for $15–20 an hour now. And if you've got any kind of talent whatsoever to paint a body, you should be at least worth that. And some of these schemes, I'm not the fastest at it. Other people are quite a bit faster. But I'm 3–4 hours in right now, and we're nowhere near painting yet. I know it's just an RC body, and most times they're disposable, even though they're getting quite a bit more expensive also. But you know, I was painting bodies for $30, $40, no more than $60 for years, and working on them a half a day. And you figure that in, and you figure in about, you know, overall materials, you're probably spending about that much money in materials to do one body. And at the end of the day, you just worked for like $3 an hour, and you gave away your talent, and you gave away your day. And like I say, this is a heart health themed body. Life is short, folks. Don't take it for granted. My friend here, he's quite a bit younger than me, and he had an incident, and thankfully he's here with us to joke around, and this is going to be a fun body. And stick around for the end. It'll all come together. All right, we're all masked up. Yes, that was a lot of work. It has now been a little over 3 hours. And is it exactly the same on both sides? No, but it's really close. That's the beauty of the human element. If you're doing it by hand, it's not going to be perfect. Could we continue the graphics on the roof and the hood? Yes. You can go and get as elaborate as you want to be. It just, how much time and patience do you have? And we've decided this is an old school body, so we're going to do a two-tone on the roof. Making decisions as we go. Think the main color, instead of the Nardo gray, I think the main color we're going to go with a charcoal gray, because I am going to do some shadowing in the checkerboard, some drop shadows under this stripe. We'll do just a little haze around the graphics to separate them, and that'll really help this graphic on the hood pop out. I'm going to do the scoop and the cowling. I'll do that flat black. Maybe some flat on the roof, because like I said, I've had some people asking about how to get a flat finish on the Lexan body, and we'll do a combination of flat and shiny on this one. All right, we're back. Start spraying this thing. If you're still watching, that means you're interested. And if you're interested, please click that subscribe button. About 95% of the people that are watching my channel are not subscribed. And it is free. All you gotta do is click the button. All it does is let you know when I upload new videos. Like I said, we're going to try our best to do 2 a week, Wednesdays and Sundays, as time allows. Still have a very busy life schedule, so appreciate it. Click that button, and let's get painting. Nothing special here. This is just a Createx opaque black. You could probably use a more transparent black in this situation, trying to do shadows. It's a little more forgiving if you use a more transparent black. But we're going to go with this straight black. One more tip on our masking. When you're cutting all this with your X-Acto, you really want to be careful not to score the body, especially in these checkerboard areas. This is an off-road truck. If it makes a bad landing or it gets hit, you score that body, you're going to have a checkerboard body that's going to break off. It's going to follow your lines. And another thing is, when you're cutting all your graphics, if you're cutting through your masking, you can actually split your fine line, and that makes for a bad day also when you try to pull that off and it starts coming off in 2 or 3 pieces. So always use a fresh blade. That way you don't have to put a lot of pressure on it. And just light enough to cut through the masking tape. Again, that's just something you'll just have to learn from experience, because my experience tells me I've broken a few bodies on paint designs. I've actually had a door break off. So you gotta be light on that touch. Alright. Start to see it come to life just with a little bit of color. All I'm doing is I'm blowing right just below that fine line tape. I'm hitting that with the paint. And with that, it's just leaving just enough haze to separate the 2 colors. And that's going to add a lot of depth to the body. We're not going to do it around the roof because the roof's probably going to be black. And if you do a fuzzy black edge around the black roof, you're going to lose it, and it's going to look like you free-handed the roof. It's not going to have a distinctive line. So there's your spray, mostly on the tape, and by default it just kind of lands where you need it to be. It don't get too crazy. You don't want to make that too pronounced, but just by doing that, you add this little feature line here. That's going to make that body look so much It's gonna give it more a candy look, even though it's going gray. And we're gonna do it around the hood logo. We're gonna do it on the grill because the grill's gonna be chrome. Even though the body comes with a decal, I like to go ahead and chrome out the grills and stuff, and you can leave it, or you can go back and cut your decals out where the headlight features, or if you want to get fancy, you can paint the headlights in. That's a whole nother day. And I have done that. Just to say, that's just a whole nother level of detail work. So let's carry on. All right, same deal with the hood. We're not going to do a shadow around the hood because this is going to be black, and that's going to be flat black also. But you can see it's kind of make that logo pop already. And again, this don't make sense until we're done. All right, we're going straight to our gray. I didn't dry the black. I'm just letting it kind of naturally do its thing. With the water-based paints, if you leave them wet between some of these colors, it will make a seamless blend on some of it, especially when you're doing flame jobs and stuff. The gray I'm using is a custom mix. I really don't have a formula. I just kind of eyeball it. I use Wicked Aluminum Medium because it's readily available at my local hobby shop. And just a little bit of black. And you can adjust the darkness with your amount of black, or you can, vice versa. And the medium aluminum has a good sparkle to it. It's not really a pearlescent, it's more of a metallic color. So if you want the pearl look, that's fine too. You can get a pearl silver, do the same thing. So we're going with the more sparkly. Again, light coat. Just like a race, you're not winning on the first lap. You gotta just take your time. These bodies get a little tricky. You got these little valleys and coves and stuff you're trying to get paint in, so just don't try to force it. Just several light coats, and it will get there. All right, there's coat one. It's got a smoky look. It's hard to tell with the masking or the protective film on it still, but by leaving that black wet and not trying to get it 100% dry before you put your next color on, it'll naturally blend. They'll melt together, and it'll give you a lot softer blend between your gray and your colors. I'll do a flame body in the future, and I'll explain that again because it really works well with the bright colors. And like I said, in the future we're going to do a collaboration with the local hobby shop. We're going to get a body. It's probably a little more popular body because all the stuff I got is really old. And what we'll do is we'll just we'll paint it up, and it will be available at the store. I used to take orders, and it became too stressful. My skill level has got as far as it's going to get, and some of these guys painting bodies are getting some very elaborate, very impressive schemes and stuff. And I'm an old dog. I don't be able to keep up with all that new trends. I try to do my own thing. I know what I'm capable of, and so going forward, I'm going to paint some bodies. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. You don't have to buy it. I'm not personally selling them. They're going to be going through the hobby shop. So, like I said, I'm going to push my limits as far as my skill levels go. I do like a challenge every once in a while, but some of this stuff these guys are doing is very impressive. Like I say, I do what I do, and if you like it, great. If you don't, that's okay too. So let's go forward and get this thing, get the main color on. All right, we're back. We did the roof black, did the scoop and the cowl. and went ahead and pulled some of the masking off. I'm going to be jumping around as the scheme goes. Sometimes you'll have to go between dark and light and dark. It's just how everything falls as you go. Again, I didn't have any definitive plan. I had some ideas, basic ideas of colors, and a basic idea of the logos I wanted to put on it. And the original request was for Nardo gray. We did like a gunmetal. I think we're going to go back and use the Nardo in this area because this logo on the hood is going to have some green in it. And we may limit the green to this bigger stripe here and maybe in the Traxxas logo. If you're curious about the pink masking, I normally use the white masking material. It's a low tack vinyl, but a lot of times it's a little thick, and cutting this small stuff with the thick vinyl, it becomes a real pain to try to weed it. So I haven't done this before myself. I usually just fight through it, but this is actually just vinyl. It's a low mid-grade vinyl. It's not a super high tech or high tack. So I hope it don't bite me in the end. So we're going to go forward with that and see what happens. But again, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to take some black just to give it some definition, a little shadow around the edge, a little drop shadow around the Traxxas logo, a little drop shadow under this stripe, and then this is going to be Nardo gray. There you go, drop shadow. Doing drop shadows, you want to kind of come off your graphic. You don't want to just outline it in black. To give it a natural shadow look, you pick your light source, whichever direction you think the light's coming from. Just go right off the edge, and then as you go, kind of fall off, and it'll lift that graphic off of the surface. It'll look like it's kind of floating when you're all said and done. We went real faint around the Traxxas logo. This is going to be Nardo gray, so we don't want it really black because it'll be too, just too strong for the color that we're putting on there. And there's that side. Got a little heavier than I wanted to there, but that's okay. We're human. It happens. I didn't do it around this for a reason, because it's just going to start boxing everything in. If you just do shadows around every single thing, it's going to make you just going to start bringing it in. There's no reason to have a shadow above when you got a drop shadow. It wouldn't make sense to have a shadow on top of that. Didn't do a shadow behind the grill. The grill's going to be chrome. Naturally, in a real car, it wouldn't have a shadow coming off the grill, so this is a graphic. All right, we got our gray on. In the video, it probably appears to be still clear. But we got the Nardo gray. You can see the shadow. This is going to be a lot more distinct when you pull this film off. We went ahead and pulled the Anderson RC logo off the roof. We're going to do it gray, outlined in white. That stuff didn't weed too bad. It come off better than expected. So we may utilize that trick more often. We got the side graphics. Got them unmasked. And part of the hood graphic. Our first color on this is going to be almost like a candy green. This is Fast-Lucent. It's not made anymore, but Createx does make some candies. They're Candy 2.0s. It works really good, but I have this. It's not going to be full candy. I'm just using the candy as my drop shadow and or some fading, because we don't want to just do a straight bright green stripe on here. If we have the luxury of using an airbrush, we're going to do the shadow. Again, doing the same thing we did with the black. We're going to shoot the green right on the edge of the paint and the tape, because we don't want a real hard distinct line. We want to do a gentle fade, and that way it's easier to add more than it is to take it away, because once you put it on, you can't take it off. So you can just creep up on it. If you need it darker, you can just add a little more. So we'll just go light first few coats. All right, there's all we need. We're going to leave that wet. Same with the grays and the blacks. We want the next color, it's going to be fluorescent green. We want that to melt together, and we just want that to be a distinct darker fade around the edges and a little bit of a drop off of that one. just noticed I didn't pull out a mask. So. Good thing to catch that now, because once you get too far along, it's going to be more difficult to get the same shadow going. Pulling this mask off, you got to be really careful not to pull your fine line up with it, because sometimes the tape will stick better to the tape than it will to the body, and it'll stretch it, and it's nearly impossible to straighten it back out, at least as nice as it was originally. There's a section we missed. So that's just going to be a distinct stripe on its own, probably in white, maybe silver. We'll go see how it goes as we go. Alright, we're leaving that wet. We're going to come back with fluorescent green. I'm a kid of the 80s, 90s. Once you go fluorescent, you can't go back. I love it. It's on everything. Fluorescents, again, they're very transparent. They're like spraying candy. You got to get them even. And like toast, if you just pile it on there, it's going to trap the water in it, and it's not going to dry right. And then you're going to run into major problems when you try to pull your masking off and it starts tearing because it's wet underneath and dry on the surface. And no, I didn't bring my microphone out here, so I hope the audio is okay, because I'm filming this once as I go. Alright, I'm going to put y'all back in time lapse for a minute, because I got to cut, again, just kind of winging it and freehanding. I'm going to cut the veins of the cabbage head, and then I got to come back again with some candy and fluorescents, and then come back and we'll back everything with white. So we'll explain that as we go. So stay tuned. Alright, so we got our little more detail into our head of cabbage here. I'm going to come back with the brush and try to add some of the veins of the cabbage. Yeah, it looks okay. Not super happy with it, but again, not going for photorealism, we're just going for a cartoony look on the logo here. So we're going to add a little white. Real fine veins. I really don't have anything I'm referencing to. I'm just kind of going off of memory. Might get done and be totally wrong, so let's see. I think we'll get the point across. We're just trying to mimic the little veins in the leaves. Nothing precise here, it's just random. Just the way nature intended. Alright, we're going to go with that, like it or not. Okay, so we're going to take some more of this candy green. Well, actually, Yeah, candy green. We'll just do a little fade around some of this before we put the fluorescent green down. Again, we're leaving that wet. Let the candy and the fluorescent kind of blend together. Alright, we've got the rest of the color on our cabbage patch, or our head of cabbage. We're going to spray the main vein in white. We've got the logo that we're going to paint white. We're going to go ahead and do the Anderson RC outlined in white. That'd be a good clash between the black and white. All this vinyl is pulling out really good, not giving me too much trouble. We're going to do this stripe in white. While we're at it, it's kind of a 2-in-1. We're going to back the grain at the same time. Obviously, the checkerboards will be white. I believe we're going to come back with the coarse or the medium aluminum and do these stripes in a bright silver. And there goes a dirt bike past the house. Normally pretty quiet around here. But neighbor Rick just started up his Harley about 10 minutes ago, and y'all missed that. And then last week we had the race car making laps around the neighborhood, the Bowman Gray car. But that's all good. Mini truck stuff, we make noise. So we're going to take a little bit of the old trusty gray here and just do a faint, very faint stripe across the top of the logo on the hood, and very faint across the top of the checkerboard. And it's again just adding some depth, or not really a shadow per se, but just setting it apart from just spraying it one color. It won't show, you probably really won't see it until the masking is pulled off, because you don't want it to be real distinct. But just a slight difference between that and the pure white, you'll see the difference. Some checkers, so we'll pull those out. Oh, I hope I can get this edited down tonight to about 30 minutes max. And again, if you're still watching, and if this is still interesting to you, please click subscribe. I'm going to be posting every week, one way or another, Wednesdays and Sundays. It might just be me talking, and it might be paint work. Just depends on what time allows. Appreciate y'all still being here. This is if this was a live video, you would have been long gone, because this we started the early afternoon and it's starting to be dusk outside. We only took about a 30-minute break for lunch. Alright, we're back in all the green. We left our gray wet. We didn't try to dry it. That way it'll melt together. Let's say 2-for-1 shot here. We're going to back everything with white. And then once we're done with that, we'll be able to go back and start pulling our fine line off and filling in those gaps. And then we'll still have to paint the Traxxas logo on the bed. The reason why I haven't sprayed the Traxxas logo yet is because this fine line is actually going over it. Yeah, I could probably cut it and have painted it along with everything else. I probably should have. I'm going to say you just kind of learn as you go sometimes. But with that going over it, we're going to have to pull it off and we'll spray it, and then we'll go back and do the logo. Like I said, we're going to be a bunch of back and forth. You can see the gray here. It dirties it up a little bit, but it adds a little bit of character, a little depth to it. Helps that checkerboard look a little more checkery. Here we go. There goes Rick on his chopper. Followed by the mini bike. All right, we're going to dry that off. We're going to pull the fine line. We'll go ahead and spray that stripe. And then we'll move on to the next step, which will probably be the Traxxas logo. All right, we're back. We have sprayed all the fine line that was blue. We sprayed that silver. I went ahead and done the Traxxas logo. Didn't film any of that because it's basically the same procedure we did here on the green and on the hood. We just took the translucent green across the top and then backed it with fluorescent and then backed everything in white. Our last two colors that we have, we pulled the orange fine line off. We're going to do that in a bright blue. And we're going to do the hood logo in bright blue. And then we got chrome grill, chrome handles, and that's it. Then we'll do the flat clear on the hood. I was going to do the roof, but with this being an off-road truck and that flat clear blade on the outside, it's very durable, but it's not going to withstand being rolled over on dirt or rocks or anything. If this was a carpet car, I've done it on my carpet oval cars with no issues, beaten, banged, and wrecked, and it stayed on pretty good. But the flat finish on the roof, getting in the dirt and stuff, probably wouldn't. It'd probably look worse than a shiny roof with scratches. What I'm trying to say. But the hood is protected for the most part, and the cowl screens and most scale trucks, the dashboard's flat because you don't want the glare on the driver. So that's what we're going to do there. So let's go ahead and get the blue on, and then we'll do the chrome, finish off with the flat, and then we're done. Now, this is the same blue that I used on the Huna dart. I did lighten it up just a touch. Like I say in that last video, if you watched that one, I use a lot of this blue, so I'll make a big batch of it. Covers almost instantly. It's a really good color. Usually one coat and we're done. Now this pink vinyl that's still on the hood, I missed pulling out earlier. That's going to get sprayed black. And the chrome on the grill and the handles and all gets backed with black, so we'll do that at the end. So it really didn't hold us up any by not spraying it earlier. Our biggest holdup was doing this logo last. I should have cut this fine line off and sprayed it at the same time as the rest of the green. So, like I say, you learn as you go. There's always new tricks, tips. If you do it enough, you're always learning. You don't know it all. All right, we got the grill pulled. We got the door handle pulled. And we got the door handle and the gas filler pulled. That's all going to be chrome. And my chrome of choice, Spaz. Seems to be the most durable and the most mirror chrome there is. They do make a water-based chrome. The Createx Auto Air. I believe it's Wicked now. I'm not sure. But it looks good, but it looks more of aluminum. It looks like a polished aluminum. It's super fine, but it don't have the mirror effect as Spaz does. And again, this body comes with grill and all the decals to do that with, but I like to take a little extra effort and do some painting on it. And you can always go back and, like I said, you can trim your headlights and you can trim the grill bars and stuff if you want to add the decals back to it. Or if you want to go that extra step and actually paint that stuff in, that just takes that much longer. And speaking of time, it is now dark outside. We've been at this all day, off and on. Trying to do it in one day, and I'm going to edit it tonight. So if you're watching this, we made it. This is my Sunday video. This is Saturday night. Chrome, you put it on really light and let it do its own thing. It flashes almost immediately. You just blow on it a little bit with the air, and then it'll flash off. The chrome is solvent based. They do make a backer for it. It's also solvent based. I've said in my earlier video, I like to back it with water based. Water will not react with solvent based paint. And I have had an incident where I put the solvent backer on too wet and it would reactivate the chrome and it would dull it out. Doesn't happen all the time. If you do it right, then it won't do it. But if you get in a hurry, you can melt it. But using a water base, you'll never have that issue. And I hadn't had an issue with it not sticking or anything. Alright, we're going to back this up right quick. And then we'll be right back for the flat clear hood. Alright, we got the chrome door handle, grill, gas cap. Got all that chromed out, backed in black. And then we backed the entire body with the same gray that I've been using in between coats. It's nothing special, it's just a black and white mixture. I like it on these type of bodies because it just looks finished, because you can see through it. There's no windows, a bedside, it's got the cage on the back, and you can see inside this body. So I think it looks nicer to be somewhat finished on the inside. Not totally necessary. Some of the race guys don't like it because it adds weight. It don't really add durability, because thicker paint doesn't mean it's going to be more durable. Sometimes thicker paint makes it less durable, gives it something easier to chip off. But I've been doing this for years and hadn't had an issue. Now, if you wanted to make this more waterproof, you will have to let this dry 100% because it is water based. Maybe give it a few days, because we've been pounding paint on all day, so it's not going to be dry for a while. But once it's dry, you can take some spray can lacquer lightly and coat it, and that'll help with the waterproof situation if you're planning on washing the body out with water. But I always recommend just taking a dry towel. Maybe just mist it with some glass cleaner once it gets dirty. So now we're going to do the hood flat. We're going to do the cowl screen and the hood. I just took my knife with the existing film on the body and I trimmed around the hood scoop and the cowl screen or the dashboard area. And we're just going to carefully pull that off. There you go. That exposes the shiny hood. My preferred method of flat is the Spaz 90-119 exterior matte finish. Works really good. Like I said, on off-road body, yeah, if you're racing outside, chances are the rocks in the dirt, it's going to scratch it. I ran it on the carpet oval car, on a breakout car, and ran it for months on carpet and didn't really have an issue. Tire marks would rub off. Obviously, if you hit the wall, it's going to get scratched. But this stuff works really good. It's durable to an extent. And I just like to get two or three even wet coats on it. And you need to get it even so it'll dry even. Pretty simple procedure. Make sure it's shaking that good. Definitely use this stuff in a well ventilated area because it does have a smell and it's probably not good for you. Didn't clean the body at all on the outside. Just peeled the film off and we're going to spray right over. No scuffing or anything. And it may go on milky. If you've got an even white sheen across it, like that right there, don't be scared. That means you got enough on there. As it flashes, that's all you need. And as it flashes, it re-clears out and it leaves you a flat finish. So we're not going to sit here and watch paint dry. We're going to let that do its thing and then we'll come back. All right, we sped that process up a little bit. Set back about 2 feet off of my lawn chair there, and just let my hair dryer blow across it. Now the moment of truth, the reveal. Always the most satisfying part of painting a body is peeling this film off and seeing what you got. Another tip to this matte clear, if you're in a really high humidity area, which I am, or if it's cool and raining outside, do not use it unless you're indoors, which I really wouldn't want to use it indoors without ventilation. Like I say, if it's cool and rainy or super humid that day, better not use it because it will blush and it will look milky, and it don't come back from that. It's a one and done deal. If you got a chance to keep air flowing over it, or even if you put it on your, once you get it sprayed, set it out in the sun, let it do its thing naturally. But if it's raining or cool, you will have problems. All right, there we are. Chromed out. Got the logo looking good. Like I said, if we did the flat roof, you would have run into issues with getting scratched, and I think it really looks pretty cool. It looks like it's almost plastic, like a cow induction hood on some cars are. The story behind the CPR Cabbage Patch Racing. A friend of mine that owns this truck has recently suffered a heart attack. And he's always a jokester, and we're doing this purely out of fun. He's a great guy, and you know, this came up. This wasn't planned. Who plans a heart attack? Luckily, he made it to the hospital in time. He actually took himself to the hospital. He has survived, and he survived his surgery. And the story behind cabbage, that is the procedure he had done. That's what they call it. And Stitch, here you go. Here's to the first day of the rest of your life. We're glad you made it, buddy.